Hello and welcome, my name is Crash and today we're going to be answering a question / suggestion by a viewer of the channel by the name of VeloStation. Now Velo is a pretty cool dude who I've interacted with on my Discord channel, link for that will be in the description below, and I just want to say that I'm sorry that it took this long for me to tackle this topic. Now, I don't have the question anymore as it's been so long that YouTube has actually deleted the tab where he asked me the question, but it went something along the lines of how many manga people should read at the same time, or my thoughts on it essentially. 1, 5, 2 million, 0, and the very boring answer is that it really depends on the person. There is no correct number or interval of numbers. What works for me will not work for you. But that is a boring answer and it will make this a very short and very boring video. So today I'm actually taking you guys on a journey as we're going through my own experiences with reading a lot of manga and reading very little manga, and see how this little factor actually almost made me quit manga. So contrary to what's probably advised to do, I didn't start by reading a single manga and see how I liked the medium. Rather, I just kinda dove into it. Naruto, Bleach, Lavina, One Piece, Detective Conan, Tsubasa Chronicles, that 4-comb adaptation of Zelda Wind Waker. I didn't even play Wind Waker till 8 or 9 years after that. I don't know why I read that one. Point is, I started with a decent amount of manga. Not too many, but around 8 or 9, which most of them were pretty big, including the big 3, Detective Conan, and Reborn, which all of them were massive. Of course, they weren't as massive back then as they are right now, but they were anything between 200 to 500 chapters, with Detective Conan going as far as 800. But I did not have any problem at keeping up with all these manga. Sure, it took me a while to catch up with some, like it took me a year to catch up with One Piece, but it was very manageable. And I think that was because of my situation back then. I was in high school, I had no job, I had no responsibilities, I didn't have many friends. I mean, I had some, but well, I had a lot of free time, let's just say that. It was very manageable to keep up with these, especially with the help of the amazing MyAnime list. We should also point out that I was reading around 10 manga at any given time, but things were about to change. I caught up with everything, I completed the ones that could be completed, and now it was time to go full on into finding new stuff. And a lot of it involved clicking that random button you see on those websites. Also just doing random searches, and as well as keeping up with the manga that was currently being scanlated. Now, I think this is a phase that a lot of manga readers, at least those that read scanlations, tend to reach at a certain point. You don't click on a website to find that one manga you want to read, you instead browse around, finding whatever is new and looks interesting. And you keep doing this and you'll eventually reach a point when you're following way too many manga. And this isn't just ongoing manga that I'm talking about. What will happen is that you'll start just reading stuff, completed, ongoing, on a hiatus, with occasional chapters translated every once a year, and some with dead scanlations. Yes, I'm talking to you, person who has 150 manga on reading. I bet you can't even name all the main characters of those. Actually, tell me in the comments below how many manga you're currently reading, ongoing, or completed, and I promise I'll rank them from you could be reading a lot more to why. So I reached the point where I was reading too much stuff, but ongoing and not. I was reaching an amount that was not good for me. I was just unable to fully keep up to date with all the ongoings that I was reading, and that led me to forget to check out some series that I was reading. Like, for example, I didn't read Villain Saga from 2014 all the way to 2022 and counting. And then the ongoing ones just kept piling up more and more, and I was starting new manga, and I didn't want to start new manga because I had like 40 other manga that I was reading already, and I should finish at least one of them. But which? The smallest ones? The biggest ones? I don't know. Should I try to catch up with that one manga that was ongoing and I hadn't read a single chapter in 5 months? I don't know. I just know that I reached a point where I had so much backlog that reading manga felt more like a chore or a job, and I didn't like that. So I just threw it all out. And I would not read manga seriously for about 4 or 5 years. Now, I don't mean that I didn't read any manga during that time, but it definitely changed from being one of my favorite pastimes to reading the One Piece chapter every week. When I came back to manga and rediscovered my love for it again, I decided I wanted to keep things organized, that I didn't want to fall into that trap again. So I went back to my MyAnime list, put all the things that are thrown into limbo into another limbo called the On Hold tab, and that removed everything from my reading list with the exception of One Piece and two of the manga that made me come back to the hobby, Kami-san and Dead Demons. So I joined the My Anime List yearly challenge that they have, and I decided to alternate from picking a random manga from my On Hold list and reading it all the way through, and once that was done, I'd pick a challenge from my anime list and I'd read a brand new manga or something from my planned backlog, which is a completely different beast. And that way I was making sure that I wasn't just reading new stuff and ignoring my backlog, as well as making sure that I wasn't just dragging through that backlog and not reading new stuff that I might want to check out. And for the longest time this worked perfectly. I cleaned about 20 manga from my On Hold, which is about a third of it, as well as discovering a lot of other stuff. Now, I do admit, there were some changes to the rules. When Manga Plus came out, I decided that I wanted to check out all of Jump, so I caught up with everything there over the course of a couple of months, reading all the shorter stuff in about a week or two, and then alternating between Jump manga and my pause stuff. And I also joined and eventually organized group reads where we read and discussed a lot of short manga, but since that was a pacing of a volume a week, it was very manageable and very, very fun. But the story does not have a happy ending because I had two of the dumbest ideas of all time. One, for my next On Hold, I decided that I wanted to check out Gintama. This was 2020, and I'm still 600 chapters away from finishing it. And the other utterly stupid idea that I had was making a YouTube channel. Now, I have a bunch of manga I want to read, group reads, all of Weekly Shonen Jump every single week, as well as stuff to read for the videos that I want to make, and no time at all to do it. So currently, I'm actually back to what I was years ago, where I have too much stuff, and it kind of feels like a chore. Like, I have about 10 manga that I'm reading and not caught up with, and I decided that I wanted to go all in with Baki and Kaiji, finishing the part 2 of each of them. And that worked great. I just finished part 2 of Kaiji last week, and I loved it, so that was one down. So next, I should probably finish Dr. Slump, which I've been reading since June, or Jarmungan, because that was another stupid idea that I had. So because I decided to join a Secret Santa recommendation group, and that was the one that they recommended, so now I kind of have to read it. So I decided to read half a volume of Dr. Slump, and then I read 2 volumes of Jarmungan, and then I started a new manga. Why did I do that? And 6 chapters into this new manga, I was just thinking, no! Finish Jarmungan. Just do it. So I paused this new manga and went back to Jarmungan, but now I have another manga that I started, and it's hard. So why? Why do I do this? Well, I think that's because reading just one manga at the same time also has its disadvantages, especially if it's a big one. It can burn you out, even if you're enjoying it. Spending 1 month on a single manga, especially when you don't have that much free time, can be very bothersome. So the idea of spacing that manga out between 2 months and reading 1 or 2 other short manga in between is not necessarily a bad idea. I think I reached peak reading balance when I was reading one main manga. I had all the Shonen Jump stuff on Monday, I had the group read volume on Friday or so, and then the occasional physical volume that I would read on the train. It wasn't as rigid as it may sound, and it led me to read 3 or 4 manga at the same time without feeling overwhelmed, as well as being caught up with a lot of others. The channel is the main reason why this balance was ruined. Suddenly, I wanted to check out 1970s shoujo manga for my shoujo video, a 1960s horror for my horror video, and I should probably read Battle Royale if I wanted to talk about it on my Squid Game video, and I wanted to put a video every single week, so I'm not going to be able to finish all of these because I still have to make videos while having a job and a family, and I'll just keep building up. I'm still struggling with this new balance. But if you're not the same as me, and you don't have a manga channel, or if you do, it's not one that involves reading 3 to 4 manga of different topics every month, then I think the perfect balance is 2 to 4 manga at any given time. Though I definitely recommend only one of them being a long-running one, which I'm considering anything above 15 volumes. Caught up on going to a different story, I guess. I like being caught up with all of Weekly Shonen Jump because all the chapters drop at exactly the same time. I don't need to worry about 20 different schedules. Every Sunday, there they are, with very occasional breaks or changes. But besides those, I really try to be very limited and selective with the other ongoings that I'm reading, which currently is Kami-san Can't Communicate and Dan Da Dan, which I actually laid on both of those for at least like 10 chapters. And potentially returning to Watamori, which I haven't read a single chapter in a literal year. But if Jump didn't post all of your series at the same time, I definitely would not be following them. And again, at the end, it really depends on you. Your time, your speed, your tolerance. But this is my experience, and hopefully it was of some use to you. And if you're wondering why I returned to manga after my hiatus, well, that was because I found what would become my favorite manga of all time. If you want to check out the story on that, you can click on the video on the left, and don't forget to subscribe and like if you like it. I don't ask it often, but today I felt like it. And if you watched it till here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.